Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that goes inside the trillion-dollar business of sports, marketing, legal, administrative, deal-making, everything you want to know as the NFL season gets close to opening, the college football season even closer, camps ending, preseason games in the middle of them, baseball, home stretch, NHL, beginning training camp, NBA, just thinking about training camp, NASCAR starting their playoffs, FedEx Cup starting their playoffs. Speaking of golf, we've got some interesting stuff, but before we do that, NBCWashington.com, at Rick Horrow, HorrowSports.com. Get our 15 to watch, plus 5 tech, plus 5 power of sports philanthropic issues. If you want them all in one place, that's where you get them. And also, get us on Google Play, Stitcher, Audio Boom. Join us on Apple Podcast, iTunes. Look for us everywhere good content is sold, and you'll hear about it. Well, before we get into football, because that's what everybody cares about, let's talk about a little bit of golf. Head of the 42nd Ryder Cup, PGA of America launched the 2018 Ryder Cup Trophy Tour in New York City. Jim Furyk, the captain, presenting the trophy at the Yankees-Mets game at Yankee Stadium. He's touring other locations, Miller Park, Soldier Field, NRG Stadium, Minute Maid Park, Soldier Field, NRG, as we said, Stanford Stadium, Heinz Field. 8 men have earned their way onto the 2018 Cup team. Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, Webb Simpson. Now we've got the interesting picks. Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, Xander Schauffele, 9-12 in the point standings, and Furyk could do much worse than taking those 4, especially with the buzz and ratings that Woods generates. But the bottom line of all of this is we got the picks, then we got the tournament. It's probably one of the last things we'll see in golf this year after the playoffs in the FedEx Cup. But last week, Group 1001, led by CEO Dan Towers, empowered the world's best by providing 144 of the world's best female golfers a platform to showcase their talents at one of the most iconic venues in the world, and by providing a platform to rewrite the history books by providing a predominantly male-oriented venue the opportunity to see what the women do. LPGA Indy Women in Tech Tournament, driven by Group 1001, also empowered Indianapolis by shining a global spotlight on the city through TV broadcasts and convening the city's tech leaders in one place to address important issues. Dan Towers said diversity in the field of technology of great importance. It's the right thing to do, and it's good for business. It's with the diversity of life experiences, perspective, and creativity that we're able to innovate and grow, and our ability to work together has been a key in the early success of this event. The Indie Women in Tech Foundation, created to be a collaborative and unifying platform to work with the many great organizations in place to mutually expand the collective footprint, to exist in the future partners. Indie Women in Tech committed to continuing that work, Dan Towers said. And by the way, showcasing her work at Indy's Brickyard Crossing Golf Club winner Sunyoung Park, getting to be consistently number 1 in the world of women's golf. And by the way, a great tournament, great cause, great philanthropy, all on display. Speaking of women's golf, a 233% increase from PGA Junior League golf for boys and girls 13 and under. An estimated 6.5 millennials play 15 rounds a year, and 60,000 young girls a year, according to the National Golf Foundation, all involved. Kudos to the LPGA. 34 events, $70 million in prize money, and LA, San Francisco, Shanghai, and other places on the calendar. Indianapolis together, a big deal, supporting this event. The Colts, the Pacers, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the 500 involved in their own way. Indianapolis was positioned as the sports capital of the world, amateur, in the early mid-'80s with the Pan Am Games. Then the Pacers, then the Colts, then the Super Bowl, and on and on. The next version now, clearly, with the Indie Women in Tech and all of their philanthropy as they move forward. Ryan Vaughn, the Indiana Sports Corp's 6th president since its founding in 1979. And prior to leading the Indiana Sports Corp staff, he served as chief of staff for Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard with a focus on collaboration and information sharing. He practiced law, he served on the City County Council, and sat on a variety of boards and committees, and Ryan Vaughn can give us a very unique perspective on what it's all about to promote sports as an economic development tool in a tremendous up-and-coming mid-market city. Here's Ryan Vaughn.
Boardroom, I'm speaking a little louder today because the great race, $500 million of economic impact, 300,000 people. It's the tune-up. It's called Carb Day. We'll talk about what that means, but it's the Friday before the Sunday race, and you can hear me, but you go out there, it's very hard to hear anything. And one of the people who is a backbone, maybe not a backbone, maybe a tibia of the race is Ryan Vaughn. How's that? The head of the Indiana Sports Corp. How you doing, Ryan?
Never been called a tibia before. I like that. That's great.
It's capital T, by the way. There's
I'm doing
mutual
well.
respect involved in tibia.
It's May and Indy. Who's not doing well?
Yeah,
right?
who's not doing well? So, Mark Miles, who we've talked about before, talked about carpet bombing and total immersion of the Indy 500. Talk anecdotally a little bit about what happens in May around here.
It's an all-in moment for us. There's actually a Grand Prix race that kicks it off the month of May for us, and then we've got a mini marathon, one of the nation's largest half marathon races that takes place, and then sort of obviously culminates with this week. And today is Carb Day. It used to be on Thursdays, now it's on Friday, and then of course the greatest spectacle in racing on Saturday, on Sunday.
Yeah, don't get the date wrong.
And it goes all the way, through our neighborhoods. It goes through our community. We've got flag poles on everybody's mailboxes. There's a guy in Speedway here that I saw mowed his yard and painted it checkered flag with white and black. So it's a great moment for us.
That's easy to understand, and you have more people at the Speedway than almost any other city in Indiana. Is that on that day, on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. The city of Indianapolis only has a population of about 1 million.
Yeah.
So you have 300,000 people show up. Speedway, Indiana, becomes the second largest city in the state of Indiana.
Well, and the most important issue that I've heard, and I think it was either a stat that you validated or published, that 6,000 shrimp cocktail are sold at St. Elmo's this weekend. Is that correct?
That's a lot of people with runny noses and watery eyes.
And I'll tell you what, and what they've done is, by the way, just so you know, at St. Elmo's, they give you a glass of water, then they give you a shrimp cocktail, then they upcharge for the second glass of water.
That's right. Yeah.
Rumor.
Yeah.
Rumor.
And they never warn you, right?
No,
so if you're a rookie,
if you're a rookie,
yeah.
That's a clear way to see somebody first time in Indy. They're holding their nose for like a couple of days, which is a deal. Economic impact and the difference with Indiana Sports Corp. Been involved in a lot of these organizations, directly and indirectly. A lot of them talk. A lot of them are bonding organizations that build facilities, but that's all they are. You guys are classic entrepreneurs. Talk a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, so Indiana Sports Corp was the first sports commission in the country. It was founded in 1979, and it was really a solution to an economic problem that the city of Indianapolis had at the time. Like most major cities across the country around that time, massive suburban flight, sort of vacated of your core infrastructure in your downtown. And the city leaders came together and they said, hey, we're going to build a strategy around sports to keep our downtown vibrant and growing. And we're going to invest in facilities, and we're going to attract major events, and we're going to attract organizations to call Indy home that are related to sports. And it's been a tremendous success story. The economic impact continues to grow annually. The number of events we're able to attract really continue to grow. So it's been a fantastic part of our story in Indianapolis, and it's really how we're known.
And so it's not just a aspirational list. Started with Lilly and Pan Am Games and Colts and 2012 Super Bowl and numerous Final Fours, and I know I'm missing a lot of other stuff,
Sure.
But what makes this special? Why are you so successful when a lot of people just talk about it?
From a practical standpoint, the city was quite literally built to host major sporting events. We're one of the first cities in the country to make sure that our premier sports venues were downtown.
Yeah.
Our hotels are connected to one another and connected to our venues. Our entertainment space is all walkable. You can, drive in from the airport, which is 20 minutes away, or take a cab and never need to take a cab the rest of the weekend you're here. So we're very deliberate about the way we build our physical infrastructure. But the real magic comes in the collaboration between, the public entities in the city and the state, the private and the professional sports organizations, and then the community, which really comes together and helps support these events from a volunteer standpoint. It's just a great.
What's in the culture that causes the public sector to be so supportive of the legacy of the prior administrations? So when you deal with public-private partnerships, you don't have to resell everything out of whole cloth.
Yeah, I think a lot of cities struggle with this sort of investing in what they perceive to be billionaires around professional sports. But what makes it impactful here is that we use every major sporting moment to have a positive impact on our community. So whether it's getting kids engaged in clinics, or training them for job opportunities, or rehabilitating neighborhoods, or collecting tissue for breast cancer research, it goes on and on and on. And I say this, and I mean it, but really sports is the means to the end for us. Our focus is on community impact. And so when you're able to deliver that at a high level, it takes a lot of the pressure off the public entities, because they can say, look, these past investments have yielded these community results. And it's really not about supporting professional sports, it's about building a community.
And it's also, from your perspective, about business. Business show, everybody always talks about, well, sports is economically viable, but there's a business calculation, there's ROI. What are your metrics that measure a successful sporting event from the business perspective?
Yeah, so we measure economic vitality. So kind of heads in beds. Are we filling up our hotel rooms? Are our restaurants full? What do the ticket revenues look like? Those are sort of traditional measurements. But the real story is sort of what's underneath the surface. You know, we talk about the sports economy as an iceberg. You really only see the top 10%. Yeah. The bottom 90 is under the water. And those are the businesses that exist in town, which have grown nationally and globally because of the partners they've made as those major sporting events have come through town.
How do you quantify those?
We work with them. Yeah, we work with them in the chamber to say, how have you grown over the last 20 or 30 years? We have a company called MyTRS, which is a technology registration system for volunteers, started around one event, World Swimming. Flory May, who's the president of that now, has 1,200 clients globally that she provides her services to. So it's just one of literally 100 stories around sports.
But there has to be a culture to accept that argument. Mayors that I've talked to around the country say the hardest thing to prove, but the easiest thing to understand, is the quality of life issue and how sports rounds out a community and makes it whole. It's easier to sell that in Indianapolis, though, isn't it?
It is. It helps that we have a 40-year history in doing so, certainly. And we're sort of at this very unique and special point in our history around sports, where the folks that started that initiative 40 years ago are still here telling the stories to the folks like myself who are, standing on the shoulders of giants, invested with carrying that tradition forward, and having that continuity, having mayors who across political parties and across terms remain committed to that strategy just helps reinforce it.
5 years from now, we know you have All-Star Game and we know you have certain things, but 5 years from now, generally, culturally, as well as major events, where is Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think we're at the top. We've got a pipeline unlike anyone else. All-Star Game, men's Final Four, college football championship, Big Ten championships in football and basketball, Olympic diving trials. Our resume continues to grow, and as I mentioned earlier, each of those moments is an opportunity for impact beyond just the game itself, but in fostering new growth in community businesses and having impact in our youth and supporting the investment and development not only of facilities, but also the amenities which make a city great, new restaurants, new hotels. Yeah. So it's all positive momentum for us.
Lawyer, lobbyist, elected official, now sports businessman, which one was the most fun, is the most fun?
Oh, this is by far the most fun. By far the most fun. Yeah, hands down. The other jobs were great, and they had nice elements of public service to them. But as I tell folks, when I was in the government side, most of my job was to address things that were going wrong. Here, it's about talking about things that are going really well in our community. So it's great. And
it'll continue to be great. Ryan Vaughn, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Well, Ryan Vaughn gives us some incredible perspective as we head into another successful year with the Indy Women in Tech, as well as a lot of other events. And now the city shifts its emphasis to the Colts opening up in a couple of weeks. And the Colts are not alone. Guess what? The NFL opening up all across the league after a couple of relatively meaningless preseason games. And now with the new NFL season just a couple of weeks away, it appears that a mutually agreed upon national anthem policy will not be ironed out by the time of opening day. The Undefeated says that NFLPA Executive Director DeMaurice Smith noted, though despite the league's eagerness to get the situation worked out, the union would support maintaining the current standstill throughout the season. Smith's been pleased with the way the talks have been going between the two sides and has no interest in meeting a contrived deadline, his words. The complex matters of the national anthem issue, directly involving race relations and social justice, mean the problem requires both time and trust to work through. NFL officials spoken with veteran players about their reasons for protesting, seeking guidance for what to do next. This is one of the first times where the league has tried to seek a mutual solution, Smith said, and he thinks it's positive. But positive progress is great, by the way, but the NFL really needs to find a solution ASAP, so the season opening headlines concern the game on the field, not the lingering anthem issue. One issue that's been clarified is gambling. Jersey, more successful than anybody even thought. Asbury Park Press talked about the first 45 days of sports betting in the state. 60 million wagered in July, the first full month of legal gambling. About 4 million in gross revenue from 40 million in wagers. The numbers compare to about 3.5 in gross revenue from 16 million in wagers in June. The FanDuel sportsbook at the Meadowlands racetrack opened July 14 and generated a state's best 1.3 million in gross revenues. And what was near universally feared has become a win-win situation for sports fans, sports books, and state tax coffers alike. And everybody's saying, keep it up. Well, another issue for revenue, NFL never sleeps. EA Sports Madden NFL franchise passes 130 million copies sold. Opening weekend pretty strong, NFL 19. The franchise surpassed an estimated 130 million sell-through units to date during its illustrious football career. In addition, mobile Madden NFL games climbed to nearly 73 million installs. The brand new Madden NFL Overdrive set to push that number even higher. And through the years, Madden NFL continues to be North America's biggest sports game franchise. Incredible how many people have enjoyed Madden NFL over the years. Its impact is had not only in teaching the sport, but growing the game as well. Cam Weber said, the EVP EA Sports guy, he would say that, but it is pretty significant, and Madden NFL also assigned ratings to more than 10,000 NFL players, virtually represented intangibles like speed, throw power, tackling ability, and some of the best ever to play the game. And every week, the Madden NFL franchise updates the ratings of over 400 NFL players in order to deliver the most realistic experience possible for football fans. But wait, there's more. And there's more revenue, and it's Adidas and it's Twitter. High school football games. They've partnered Friday Night Stripes, the first ever live streaming series of high school football games on Twitter, featuring nationally ranked teams from across the country, including teams from California, Nevada, Indiana, Georgia, and Florida. The 8-game series starts on September 7 and continues throughout the regular high school football season, with the final game November 9. From grassroots to the NFL, Adidas, ever present in football culture, being digital first, and everything else when it comes to high school brands and otherwise. High school football fans view Twitter as an indispensable tool to follow what's happening, says Andrew Barge, the head of sports broadcast partnerships at Twitter. We're thrilled to partner with Adidas and Intersport to help fill this massive, untapped opportunity. And it is massive, and it is untapped. We'll see what kind of opportunity is as we continue to check through on this. One other NFL issue, which is really kind of significant, and it cannot be underestimated. The NFL Alumni partners with the National Football Cheerleaders Alumni Organization. They announced the partnership with a group of 14,000 former NFL team cheerleaders around the country. The partnership increases membership, sponsorship, and brand awareness for that organization and their sister organization. United and Forever Strong is the logo and their mantra, and together they make a difference in the communities by continuing to support the NFL alumni in need. The cheerleaders, 32 teams over the years, a really, really interesting perspective. Let's go to soccer, then we'll go to baseball. Soccer, a big deal all over the world, obviously, and internationally first. The English Premier League side Tottenham being forced to relocate several league matches and an NFL game due to construction delays at the new White Hart Lane. The London Telegraph says the new billion-dollar stadium had its opening day pushed back on several occasions, and no clear consensus whether or not that day will come in 18. Two test events, one on August 27, another on September 1, have been canceled, while Premier League contests versus Liverpool on September 15 and Cardiff City on October 6 moved to Wembley. And the October 14 regular season NFL matchup between the Seahawks and the Raiders will also go to Wembley instead of White Hart Lane. After news of the delays was made public, Tottenham Hotspur Supporter Trust demanded fair compensation for the inconvenience, with fans already having paid significantly increased prices for their season tickets at the new stadium. The tight construction timeline and ballooning costs have hampered the Northern London club's balance sheet as the side failed to make a single signing this past transfer window. As bad as that situation may be, La Liga over in Italy even getting better. They've agreed to move a regular season game across the Atlantic to be played in North America. La Liga reached an agreement with Relevant, the multinational media firm, on a 15-year joint venture for promotion in North America. The date and location for the first match have not been determined, though Hard Rock in Miami a frontrunner because Steve Ross's involvement in Relevant. It's not too difficult to figure out that Steve will be involved, and the new venture being called La Liga North America, run by former Televisa and Univision executive Boris Gartner. Media rights are expected to be La Liga's North America's biggest revenue driver, capitalizing on La Liga's premier status and North America's lucrative sports and media market. Well, there's more soccer as well. La Liga does something else. They land Facebook rights deals in India. They confirmed a landmarks rights deal with Facebook, allowing fans to watch every game for free on the social media network for the next 3 years. 380 matches each season from Spanish's soccer top flights, and the games will be available in India, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. How about that? Sony Pictures Network, which held the rights to the region between 14 and 18, paid $32 million. One of the goals for the last 2 years has been to offer content to the widest possible audience, so partnering with free platforms like Facebook, with 270 million users in India, is key. The games will initially be shown without advertisements, though Facebook doing trials in advertising on live content in the U.S. that could later be replicated on La Liga coverage all over the world. Good for them. They're obviously moving in the right direction. Finally, closer to home. The bottom line is the Columbus Crew one step closer to relocating themselves. Austin. The Texas City approved a deal to build a soccer-specific stadium. The Austin City Council voted 7-4, privately financing a $200,220,000-seat stadium at the McCalla Place in exchange for the city-owned land. In clearing this hurdle, which has proven nearly insurmountable for Miami, the ownership group hopes to move the Crew to Austin in time for 2019. Crew chair Anthony Precourt and MLS ensnarled in lawsuits in Ohio. Construction for the new stadium will take approximately 2 years, so the team would need to find a temporary site to play until the project is finished. Among the options currently being considered are the facility owned by the University of Texas, the Dell Diamond, home to the Round Rock Express, and Texas State's Bobcat Stadium in San Marcos. But first, amends have to be made in Columbus. This is not an easy process. It never is. Let's finish with baseball, but you know we're going to have more about baseball down the road. How about something that is broader than just the Dodgers? Elon Musk's Boring Company would be of huge aid to the Dodgers if a proposal is approved. The tunneling company made a proposal to build a 3.5-mile tunnel called the Dugout Loop that would take fans directly to Dodger Stadium. The underground tunnel would be capable of transporting 1,400 people per event, helping to reduce the amount of game day traffic funneling toward Dodger Stadium. Fans would access the Dugout Loop from one of 3 Metro Red Line stations and arrive at the stadium in less than 4 minutes. And construction on the 14-month project would not begin until the proposal is fully approved. Elon Musk is pie in the sky, but he also does stuff. Fans shouldn't hold their breath in Dodger Town, but you never know as far as what a process can do. Up the coast a little bit, the Oakland A's are in a tight race atop the AL West, but East Bay fans still struggle to pack the stands at Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. The San Francisco Chronicle said it took a public plea from third baseman Matt Chapman to get attendance north of 17,000 following a recent crowd of a little over 10,000. The A's currently sit 28th in the league in average attendance, drawing merely 18,000 fans per game. I want the fans to come out and support us. We're out here playing our butts off. We want to play in front of our fans. Chapman went on to clarify his statement, noting he was not complaining about the lack of fans or criticizing the team's fan base, but rather encouraging more to come to the park, an organic plea to enjoy playoff baseball and support the local team. The contrast between the two Bay Area teams couldn't be starker. The Giants, currently in second to last place in the NL West, yet average the MLB's fourth most fans per game. What is it with the Bay Area? I guess a new stadium has something to do with it. And then finally, on the baseball front, Valspar Stain signed on with MLB to become the official sponsor of Players Weekend later this month. The paint and coatings company is the first presenting sponsor of the special occasion, which will see players wear one-off jerseys manufactured by Majestic, caps made by New Era, and socks produced by Stance. Players get to select nicknames that appear on the back of their jerseys, part of the broader league-wide marketing effort to promote the individual tastes and personalities of its star performers. The weekend, now in its second year, will run August 24, 25, 26, and players envision Players Weekend as a way to express themselves and connect with fans in a fun and more personal way, said Tony Clark, who is the Players Association executive director. And MLB, at times struggle to connect with younger fans and millennials, is using this weekend as a great way of engaging with younger fans in a fun and playful way. We covered a lot this week. The golf tournaments, NFL getting ready, soccer, baseball, it's all there. Next week we'll get closer to all that, and we'll begin eventually the U.S. Open tennis tournament. Can't wait. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. Thank you all. Join us next week, and see you next time.